Please sit down. Good morning. So, as I said the other day, today being the last day, I thought, let me find something. To hold my text. It's running away. Yeah, so as I said the other day, many of you may be familiar with the stages of path. Stages of path. That means there is a very systematic presentation of the whole Buddhist path, that how you can begin until you become Buddha. What is the path? You know, as I said, just like you are moving from here to New Delhi, you need to know the right path. Okay, so like that. So you should have some idea about this. Now, with these stages of the path to enlightenment, is normally categorized into three. The whole path is categorized into three stages of the path common to the small individual, stages of the path common to the middle individual, and the stages of the path of the great individual. Great individual. Now that means among the followers, there may be some who may think that by whatever means is necessary, I'll do those, cultivate those means and practice, so that in the next life also I obtain the human life. You are still in the samsara, but I can't think about higher than this. I want to be born as a human being again. So there are many reasons for that. It is a good idea. But sometimes we are a little bit stupid, you know. The life that you already got, you're wasting, then saying, may I become a human being next life. So the most important thing is not waste this life, which you already obtained. Of course, you can cultivate those positive qualities so that you can continue to obtain this human life, because when it comes to achieving enlightenment, there should be steady progress. Progress this life, and the next time you're born as human being, you will build upon it. You must have collected some good deeds now, but then next life you're born as a cow or a dog or a crow or animal, something like animal, then you can't do that. So that's why it's important to obtain this precious human life again and again. So that's the reason. So those people who have that kind of aspiration and attitude is called only obtaining the well-being in the future life in the form of a human being or a god, something like that. That's their main goal. So these people are called small people with small intelligence. They are not talking about nirvana. They're not talking about Buddhahood and enlightenment. They're talking about some kind of happiness and pleasure by obtaining this human life again. So they can't think bigger than that. That's called small individual. Then there are a second group who says, even if you're born as a human being in the next life, you are still in the samsara. You are still in the cycle of existence. Now, so long as you are in the cycle of existence, you will again continue to encounter all the problems that you have been experiencing earlier. So this is not a comfortable place. Therefore, I must get more long-lasting happiness. I must completely get rid of negative emotions, their seeds, sufferings. I must get liberated. That's all I want. It's wonderful to think about liberating all sentient beings, but practically speaking, that is not easy for me. Understandable, you see. Even helping few people is not easy, right? So when you talk about helping all sentient beings, become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, I respect, but practically impossible for me. So I'll settle with liberation just for myself. So these people, they turn their back to the samsara. To achieve their nirvana, they also stop committing negative deeds. But they aspire peace of liberation just for themselves. So these are called people with middling intelligence. Then there is a middle. Then there is a third group of people who say that your achieving liberation is good, but still that is a little bit selfish. How can you be happy just obtaining liberation when the rest of your so-called mother sentient beings are suffering? Right? So however hard and difficult it may be, but it is really, really worthwhile to make that attempt to cultivate bodhicitta and achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So these are called people with great intelligence. They are great, not because of being born in a particular caste or family with the rich, no. Their mind is great. Their mind is great. They have this wish to remove the sufferings of all sentient beings. Not easy. Nothing is easy. But I'll go for that. That's what we've been studying during the last few days. So the whole stages of the path is classified into these three divisions that you need to understand. Now, next time if somebody asks this question, what is Lamrim? What is stages of the path? Then you should say the stages of the path of the small individual, middling individual, and great individual. So you already have very good understanding of the outline of the stages of the path. Then the next question they will ask is, okay, what do you study? What do you practice in the path of the small individual, in the path of the middling individual, in the path of the great individual? That is the next question. Then you go more into detail. Okay? So now you have this idea. You need to, basically we are saying you need to get out of samsara. In your own case, you can have that. There's a difference between the thought of the small individual, and also the thought of small individual, a thought which is common, practice which is common to the small individual. With the small individual means the small individuals have these thoughts, but this is also necessary in the higher paths. You are not saying here now, because when you talk about the whole path, you are not saying I will be contented with the first level. You are saying I will practice this first level of the path, then move to the second level, then finally enlightenment. So therefore these two lower paths are called common path, which is common to the higher path. Okay? So now in order to do that practice, So now this is the brief outline that I already explained. Now you read the details. Foundation of qualities. This is the text. Those of you who are online, I do not know whether you have this text or not, but you can get this text. It is only 2 pages, very easy to get later on. This text, beautiful text, Foundation of Qualities, is written by the famous teacher Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelugpa tradition. And he is really, really one of the most outstanding teacher. He teaches with reason and logic. If you read his life story, he spent so much time meditating, practicing, then studying from all the great masters. He has this non-sectarian approach, studying from all the great masters, living at his time. And a very amazing, teacher. And I had the fortune of studying many of his works. So this is the easiest, shortest lamrim, one of the shortest lamrim. It can be shorter than this also. Like the whole Buddhist teaching can be shorter. Like all they are with the wisdom perfection, they are like so many texts. But if you want to go for the shortest, then it's simply the letter A. A. A in Hindi, A is negation. Amar. Mar means dying. Amar means not dying. Right? So it's the word of negation. So this word A is negating independent existence. Therefore, only this word, one word A, teaches the wisdom perfection, emptiness. So in this way, you can condense it, right? So in few words, you can condense it. So anyway, now let us read Foundation of Qualities. By seeing well that the root of the path is proper reliance on a kind Lama, the foundation of all qualities, through many effort, may I be blessed to be able to relate to him with great respect. May I be blessed, that may I have the fortune. May I be blessed. Blessed, what do you mean by blessed? The Tibetan word for blessing is chinlap. And the literal translation of this word chinlap means to transform you into a state of magnificence. To transform you into a state of magnificence. Now, who is going to transform you into a state of magnificence? Your Lama, your teacher? In a way, yes, in a way, not. Especially if you think, simply having the Lama's hand touch on your head, then we say blessing, It's a kind of blessing, but just somebody touching your head will not transform you a state of magnificence. So you can transform into a state of magnificence by removing your negative emotions and cultivating positive emotions. So who is now giving the blessing? You yourself. So you have to bless yourself, not just from an external Lama or object. That you need to understand, okay? So anyway, here, this verse is saying that finding a good teacher is so important. This is understandable because even in this life, for example, if you are studying carpentry or computer or whatever you want to study, you need to learn it from somebody. Even in this life, when you can see things with your eye, there also you need a teacher. Now, if this is the case, then what need is there to talk about the need of teacher to guide you to go into a place about which you have no idea, go to the next life, how you will fare well, right? You have no idea. There's no roadmap right now except this text, right? So there you need to really depend on this teachers, the qualified teachers, and the qualified text that has been composed by those people who have that experience directly. That's imperative. There's no other alternative. However clever you may be, you'll not be able to follow all these paths. You can find out a little bit here and there in doing good things and removing the bad things, but you will never be able to come up with a systematic path, systematic approach leading to enlightenment. right? So therefore it is important to rely upon a teacher, guru. And that teacher must be, as we already discussed, the teacher must be compassionate, number one. That's most important. Then he should have more knowledge than you. Then he should be ready to help you whenever you need help, right? So you can learn from many teachers. A question is asked by somebody saying, is it good to have one teacher or many teachers? It depends. It's up to you. If you feel comfortable having many teachers, it's okay. But for some people, too many teachers, too many cooks spoil the broth, So too many teachers may not be good. So it is better to have few teachers. So it's up to you. It's up to you. So you can learn from those qualified teachers. But if you really want to accept somebody as your root guru or something, then as I said, don't commit to that quickly. Don't tie your neck to anybody like that quickly, right? And jokingly, some people asked me, Geshe, can you be my teacher? I said, bring a rope. Rasi leke aao. Bring a rope and we'll tie our neck together. Then we'll fall together. So like that. I'm not qualified, So I tell them, there's no need for you to say Geshe Lhakdor is my teacher, You can just, if there's anything I can share, help, of course, if I have time, I'll be happy to share. But other than that, I myself is a person who is sinking, don't know swimming. So how I can save somebody who is drowning? If somebody who is drowning holds me, that person will take me also together. So we'll die together, seriously speaking. So you find somebody who is compassionate, who is knowledgeable, like that. I mean, in ordinary way, like a class teacher, if you say Geshe Lhakdor is my teacher, that's fine. That's fine. But if you call somebody as your root guru, no, I don't know. I don't know how to say that, You need to be, all I'm saying is you need to be careful. You need to be careful. Okay? Unfortunately, the so-called gurus or monks, they are also human beings, okay? Don't exaggerate. They also have faults. They also have shortcomings. They also have greed. Accept that reality. Don't pretend, If you don't accept the reality, then you expect that so-called person, your guru, is perfect. Because that guru is not perfect, sooner or later you will see his or her faults, then you get shattered. Oh, I thought my guru is perfect, he is not perfect. Then you get into many problems. I personally know a number of people who had that problem. They came to me, I have this problem with my teacher, how should I solve? They come to me, how to solve it, right? Because I speak English, I understand people's mentality a little bit, so they come to me, you see. And then especially there are lines which says, if you don't follow what your teacher say, you will go to Vajra hell. These are, if you don't understand that, these are intimidating, you see. So don't take everything literally, you see. Don't take everything literally. If the teacher is really, really qualified, like a Buddha, then if you don't listen to him, maybe there's a very bad result. But ordinary teachers, they're not completely enlightened. They have their problems, faults, Yes, do you accept that person as your teacher? But how can you say that if you don't listen to that person and don't follow, you will go to Vajra hell? No, this is almost like threat. It's not threat. In its proper context, it has a great meaning. But you can't apply it to everybody, saying that, oh, if you don't listen to your teacher, you will go to hell. No. So you should really understand properly how to relate to a teacher. And then don't get hypnotized by the external appearance, how eloquent the teacher is, not just by that, not just by that. Take time. The most important guru should be yourself. In Buddhism, we talk about two kinds of guru, the internal guru and external guru. External gurus are the gurus outside, the lamas. Internal guru is your inner resources, compassion, loving kindness, wisdom. They are your internal guru. They are unfailing internal guru. So it's important to cultivate this internal gurus so that you are able to, your mind is able to guide you. Right? That's very important. That's very important. Because unfortunately, we know that, for example, in the West, there are people who have a lot of difficulties, number of people who have difficulties like depression or loneliness, divorce. And when they have this problem, then expect their problem will be solved in the center. They go to a Buddhist center. And many of the Buddhist centers, they are able to help. But if you come to a center where the Lama itself is corrupted, the center itself is corrupted, then you are making the matter worse. You move from one problem and go to another place where they will create more problem. They'll take advantage of you. So don't be stupid. I'm telling you the bitter truth. Please listen to this carefully. I know, for example, one very elderly French, lady. Later on, she became nun. Now I don't know whether she's alive or not. She's very senior. So she used to come here for His Holiness teaching. And I was then His Holiness translator. And she's very respectful to His Holiness. Therefore, she knows I'm serving, I'm translating for him. So she also has a lot of regard for me. So she confides in me and tells things. So she told me the story. She was completely robbed in by some sadhu in certain centers in South India, I think. She went there to study something. Then he said, oh, we are building this, we need money. She gave a lot of money. She started selling her house. She was very committed. And when she had nothing, she gave everything. When she had nothing, then the owner of their center said, there's no place for you to stay here now. See? I mean, it's happening. So don't get duped. In the name of learning yoga, you go everywhere and you go cheated. In the name of learning Dharma or anything, be it Buddhism, be it Hinduism, be it whatever, you go up to chase after these lamas, chase after these sadhus. Then sometimes you're cheated, you see. So be strong and be intelligent. There is a line in the Buddhist teaching where it says, I'm not going to give my nose, the rope in the nose, when the animals are led by the nose. So they say, I'm not going to give my rope of the nose to anybody easily. So don't give that easily. Otherwise they will take you in all the directions. Right? So that's important. By seeing well that the route of the path is proper. That's why he's using the word proper. Don't just run after anybody. It's proper reliance on a kind Lama. See the second word, kind Lama. Not any Lama, not any teacher. If you rely on the teacher properly, and especially a compassionate Lama, then of course that is foundation of all your qualities. And once you find such a teacher, then you make effort, repeated effort. That's most important. Through many efforts, may I be blessed to be able to relate to him with great respect. Now, through many effort, may I be able to relate to the teacher doesn't mean through many effort. You give your money, you give your house, you serve that person, you wash his clothes, you become a servant. No, he's not saying that. Yes, if you have very close connection and respect whenever there is a need to help, not only the student should help the teacher should also help the student. That is of course desirable in general, in human relationship. But here, making effort to do everything that pleases the teacher is not about wealth and money. It is primarily your spiritual practice. One clear indication of your having met a good teacher is if that teacher is very pleased if you give money and other wealth and offerings. Is not so attentive about what you are practicing, that means you are in the wrong hand. Then you are in touch with a businessman. Right? But if the teacher is not concerned about what offering you are making, but is really concerned about your practice, always asking questions about your practice and always trying to help you as much as possible, then you are in the hand of good teacher. So the good teacher is pleased by your practice, not by your offering. Okay? Second, now first we talk about those topics which is adopted and practiced by the small individual. So we are talking about the path that is common to the great individual, path common to the great individual. Now first is understanding the preciousness of your human life. Realizing that this good life of leisure, that basically means your human life, which has this opportunity to practice Dharma, that we have found just once. See? Maybe not once, maybe 2, 3 times, but when it says just once, it means it is not easy to get it again and again. It talks about rarity of this life. Realizing that this good life of leisure that we have found just once is extremely rare to find and of great purpose. Number one, it's very difficult to find. Why? Because this life did not come into being like that. It's a result of your having practiced morality in the past. Huh? It is the result of your having practiced giving in the past lives. So many good things you have done, at least according to Buddhism. That's why you have obtained this precious human life today. Okay? But don't take it for granted that you are going to get it again and again. It's extremely rare to find and of great purpose. Not only you found it, having found it, if you know how to utilize it, you can achieve great purpose, which no other animals can achieve it. I don't have to explain this. So therefore, may I be blessed to cultivate an uninterrupted wish, day and night, to extract the essence. Uninterrupted wish. So number one, appreciate this life that you have. Be happy about it. Be happy about it. Yeah? As I've been saying, don't just keep on talking about, the shortcomings, things you don't have, but appreciate this. Maybe I have told you this story. I don't remember. I keep on talking to so many places. In most of the places, I keep on saying the same thing. So I don't know what I've said in this place or that place. But there's not important. I mean, there's no problem repeating the same thing so long as it is important. Just like our having lunch, dinner all the time repeatedly. Right. This is my justification. So therefore, I remember that giving that public talk in Moscow some years back. Did I tell you about this? Moscow. Give a public talk in Moscow and saying something like this, you maintain positive attitude, don't keep on complaining, things like that, there are so many things you can be happy about, things like that. Then there was elderly Russian ladies in the front line. She got up and he said, Geshe, your teaching is very good, but I'm an elderly Russian lady, living alone, nobody taking care of me. So what is there with me so that I can appreciate and be happy? And I said, I sympathize with you if you're alone and not many people supporting you, but still I see many good things in you. So she was surprised, what do I have? Then I said, I see you have both the eyes intact, both the hands intact, you are standing up erect, both the legs are intact. There are hundreds and thousands of people who have no hands, no sight, no legs. We see many people who have lost both the legs and the hands. Now you have all this. What else you need? This is the most precious thing. And your mind is functioning, your brain is functioning. So we need to tell this, because normally the good things we never pay any attention to that. We only count the fortune that comes from outside. How much money I have right now in my wallet, how much money I have in the bank, just always measuring your success in terms of money, wealth, things like that. You never count the good things you already have. If you're healthy, if your mind is functioning, wealth will come easily. If you're sick, if your eyesight is gone, your limbs are gone, Now these days we hear so many stories of extremely rich people. This time I didn't bring, normally during the teaching I bring some of their last death kind of testament or comments that they make. There's this one lady, I don't remember the name, she was extremely rich, she had her jet, all those things. Then she suddenly got sick, and then she said, I used to change my clothes almost like every hour. Now I can't wear any cloth except the cloth given in the hospital. And I used to have beautiful curly hairs, now my hair is completely gone. She may be suffering from cancer or something like that. So you can't use any of these things, you see. Now you might say, okay, that's a different thing. Now you're sick, so what else to do? But before you get sick, you enjoy your life. Yes, in a sense it is true, but in a sense when you are healthy, then you should make good use of your fortune. Right? Your hand, your eye, use all this properly. Then when you get sick, or even when you're on deathbed, you don't have to worry. So therefore, so he says, realizing that this good life of leisure that we have found just once, very difficult to find, is extremely rare to find. We found it, but it's not going to stay forever. We are going to die. So now you should achieve the purpose of having found such a precious life. So therefore, you should really aspire, may I be blessed, to cultivate an uninterrupted wish day and night to extract the essence. This wish to undertake uninterrupted practice day and night will come, number one, if you see the importance of this precious human life, the rare opportunity that you have now. And then also the looming large of the negative emotions, the sufferings, So when you confront these enemies of negative emotions, it can erupt anytime, it can damage your life anytime. So therefore you need to pay uninterrupted attention, undergo uninterrupted practice, day and night. Day and night means even when you go to bed, if possible, go to bed probably a little bit early and get up a little bit early, okay? And when before you go to bed, you should think about all the positive things, cultivate positive motivation, and because of that motivation, even when you are sleeping, your whole sleep will become virtuous because of influence of that motivation. This morning I was watching, so early morning I was watching a documentary, which is based on the teaching of the Buddha. So this is a story of somebody who is not able to sleep. So then goes to this one monk saying that I have difficulty sleeping, what should I do? And then this monk tells the story of the Buddha, that he found Buddha always sleeping so peacefully, just one go. And in the same posture that we discussed about, same posture, he gets sound sleep, he never has to change his sides. How come? And then this monk, tells this whole story by saying that he's able to do that because his mind is completely pure. There are no fear, no distraction, no depression. How much peacefully your body is able to rest is very much dependent on your mental state. If your mental state is not settled, not peaceful, then even though you try to sleep, nowadays what we do is, even when it's time for go to bed, when you go to deathbed, you don't go to sleep quickly. You will be, before going to sleep, you will be watching that movie, or maybe you're watching your phone. Is there any news? So all this disturbs your mind, and then you try to sleep with a disturbed state of mind, again thinking about so many things. You wake up in the middle of night. So all this is dependent upon how peaceful your mind is. If your mind is peaceful, your body will be peaceful. Body will be restful, you see. And that is kind of my experience also. Like, for example, I give keep on. After the pandemic, not so much, but I used to travel a lot and give a lot of talks. People think that, oh, Geshe is working very hard, he must be tired. Yes, sometimes he may be tired, but generally not much. Because your mind is accepting it. Your mind is liking it. Right? So you need to make sure that your mind is not disturbed. And you can do that by understanding the situation. We already read that beautiful verse. If it is something you can change, don't worry, because you can change. If it is something you can't change, no use worrying, because by worrying you can't change it. Or we didn't read it. It is in chapter 6, I think. Chapter of patience, probably, I don't remember. Anyway, that's the suggestion, you see. Now in our case, if it is something that we cannot change, still we keep on thinking about it. What is the use? So if it is something you can change, don't worry, because you can change. You may have to make some effort, but you can change it. If it is something you can't change it, no use worrying. By worrying you can't change it. Beautiful, beautiful suggestion. Okay? So, may I be blessed to cultivate an uninterrupted wish, day and night, to extract the essence, means essence of having found this precious human life. So, thinking about the preciousness of human life, this is one topic that is found in the path of the small individual. The next thing that is found in the path of the small individual is death, remembering death. Our body and life is perishable, even though you have found this precious human life, but it's not going to stay forever, because our body and life is perishable like a water bubble. Remember death, for we will soon disintegrate. The death will not see whether you have finished your project or not. It will not see whether you have finished your project or not. It will not see whether you're healthy or not healthy. It will not see whether you are a farmer or a businessman, whatever, you see. Right? For we will soon disintegrate, therefore gain firm conviction of this fact. Not just talk about it, really think about it. Whether it's true that you will one day die, and when are you going to die? There's no certainty. There's no certainty. So develop firm conviction. If you develop firm conviction about this death, as I was saying, that if you're somebody who is dying, tonight, if you're somebody who is going to die tonight, what are you going to do? What will you be worried about? What is it that makes sensible? The only thing that makes sensible is, if possible, smile and be nice to each other. That's the only thing, There's an Indian gentleman who is the caretaker of the people who come to die in, river Ganga. They throw their body, they come and throw their body in the Ganga. So there's a gentleman who takes care of these people who are on their last stage and come there. He has written an article of his experience. He said the experience of all these dying people are exactly the same. When you are at that stage of dying, you are able to listen to the prayers much better than before. Even songs, it makes much better sense than before. Then all the quarrels and conflicts that you had with other people, your family members, they very clearly see it was total nonsense, of no use at all. For example, there's this case of a gentleman who was dying, and when he reached there, then he said, I have only one last wish. My last wish is to somehow please contact my brother and call him. When I was alive, we had a disagreement, and then we put a barrier. We divided the house. So that division, that construction, which divided the house, still is obstructing my mind. So before I die, I want to request my brother to please dismantle it. Like that, you see. All the stupid things that we do in our life, doesn't make any sense if you understand reality. When you face death, all this doesn't make any sense. Right? So therefore, gain firm conviction of the fact. If you don't have firm conviction, then a little bit of understanding may be of some benefit, but not much. Right? For example, if now we are all studying here very peacefully, happily, right? Relaxed. And if suddenly there is a siren and says, okay, now house is on fire. So what will you do there? Then you will all work together. There's now no division. You are not concerned about from which country these people came from. All you want is just to save your life, individually or together. Right? So like that, you see. There is a famous teaching which says, Tondang nyeme tuze chube su kyenge thot pabze rangsang. That means when your stomach is full and you are basking in the warmth of the sun, you appear to be a very good practitioner. But as soon as you encounter misfortune, you reveal your true nature, you see. So therefore, unless you have been doing this practice for a long, long time, you may look very good when everything is okay, but when there is a difficulty, you will show your nature. So death, and then after death, when we die, if that is the end of the story, then it's okay. But not only according to Buddhism, according to science also, nothing completely disappears. Even if a tree falls, it will become a cause for something else. So nothing completely, law of conservation, nothing completely disappears. So you will have future life. Now when you have a future life, how good that future life will be depending upon whether you have done positive actions or negative actions. That after dying, our positive and negative actions follow us like the body and its shadow. Just as the shadow is following you all the time. Even if you fly very high, when you fly very high, you don't see the shadow. But as and when you come closer to the ground, you start seeing the shadow. I watch this many times when I'm flying, When the aeroplane is coming closer to the landing ground, then you can very clearly see the shadow. But when you fly very high up, you don't see the shadow. It doesn't mean it is not there. It's there all the time. Follow us like the body and shadow. Having done so, may I be blessed to always be careful and give up even the smallest collection of faults and to practice all virtuous collections. So, even if it's a small negative deed, don't say this will not harm me. इससे कुछ नहीं होगा, ये तो चलेगा, ऐसा नहीं बोलना है. Don't say this is okay. Don't say this is okay. It's not okay. It will harm you. Just like planting a small seed from which a big tree grows. And to practice all virtuous collections. All virtuous collection means, again, in the case of cultivating positive virtuous qualities, don't say this is small. Even if it is small, it will give great benefit. Just like drop of water falling down fills up a bucket in time. Okay? So, law of causality. So, this completes the topics of the path common to the small individual. So what is being covered now? Is in the first level of the path is path of the small individual. And what is covered in that path? How to find a good teacher? How to find a good teacher is actually applicable to all the three paths. So the main path that is covered in this is preciousness of human life, death, law of causality. Okay? Next, path common to the middle individual. May I be blessed to cultivate great aspiration towards the peace of liberation. Having seen the faults of the samsaric excellences, that you can never be satisfied enjoying it, and that it is the door of suffering, and that it is unreliable. Now you aspire to get liberation. Why? Because you have some experience of the samsara. Now in samsara, in this cycle of existence, in this ordinary life within the samsara, you will never be satisfied. For example, in our case, are you satisfied? with the money you have right now? You're satisfied? I don't know. Are you happy with everything that you have? It's good. You're a practitioner, You're different, So normally, you may say you're satisfied, but if there's an opportunity to get many things, you want more, okay? And then there is no definiteness of what's happening in your life. There is no definiteness in terms of your friends and enemies. Somebody who is enemy might become your friend. Somebody who is your enemy might become your friend. Today you are happy, tomorrow you are not happy, So ups and downs, completely, so many ups and downs. So there is no reliability. Never be satisfied enjoying it. That means whatever material things you get, the more you want one. If you have some money, you buy one car, thinking this is the best car. The next time you see the limitation of this car, then you start thinking, oh, I made a mistake. The color is not so good. The speed is not so good. It consumes so much oil. Then you think about buying something else, you see. So we keep on changing. So much so these days, in order to get that satisfaction, you keep on changing the external furnitures. You change your sofa, you change your chair. I mean, the list is endless. And then nowadays, not only that, you change your wife, you change your husband, thinking that I thought she was good, she is not so good, now I'll change. And then they marry somebody new, then they think, oh, this time it will be perfect. When after spending some time, you realize this is also not so perfect. Still you don't learn the lesson. Then you go for the third, then go for fifth, sixth. I mean, human kind of thinking. Recently I saw a news clip where there's one gentleman standing there surrounded by 50 wives. Recently I saw it. So there are many strange people. Many strange people. So the point I'm making is simply by changing what is there outside, you will never get that happiness. And we already studied this earlier. The attachment, for example, does not come from the object, does not come from your senses, it comes from within. So similarly, the good things also primarily has to come from within by changing your attitude, right? So you will never get that wife or husband or their furniture which you can say perfect, unless you have some sense of contentment. So may I be blessed to cultivate great aspiration. If you're thirsty and did not drink water for a long time, there will be great aspiration. I am dying. So that kind of thirst must be there towards liberation. And that will be possible if you have very good understanding of the limitations and sufferings of the samsara. That you can never be satisfied enjoying it, that it's the door of suffering. It's like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the more you become thirsty. Door of suffering. There's nothing that comes value-free, as I said the other day. And that it is unreliable. Unreliable, not necessarily that other person wants to cheat you, but its nature is such that you cannot rely. Like now, for example, if you think that your iPhone 14 is the best thing, then you slip it from your hand and breaks. Then you realize, okay, iPhone 14 breaks, right? So nothing is reliable. And in the case of human relationship, they are not reliable because these days many people, they cheat each other. Even parents cheat their children. Children, cheat their parents. So in that way, not reliable. Now, even if there is a very good relation between the parents and the children, ordinarily speaking, reliable, but not reliable in the sense because the parents will die. You cannot depend on them all the time, right? So that is the meaning. Induced by that genuine thought, not contrived, uncontrived, genuine thought, and with great mindfulness and vigilance or alert conscience, the importance which we have already studied, may I be blessed to primarily practice If you want to achieve the liberation, then your main practice should be the individual liberation, the vows and precepts that is needed to practice for achieving that liberation, the root of the teaching. So this, seeing the faults of samsara. And when we talk about seeing the faults of samsara, here normally, if you have time, then we study the Four Noble Truths here. Okay, then you study in detail about all the sufferings of human beings, sufferings of animals, sufferings of God, sufferings of all the six realms, things like that. And then the cause of suffering, how can we stop it? What is the path? We study the Four Noble Truths. So this way you cultivate this wish to achieve liberation. But so this is the topic that you study in the path of the common individual. Your wish to achieve liberation is good, and if you actually achieve liberation, that is wonderful. But still, in the Mahayana tradition, we call that liberation solitary liberation, solitary nirvana. That means it is liberation, nirvana just for you. So there is, tent of selfishness there. So therefore it is not good enough. So therefore you go to the next level, the path of the great individual. Just as you are falling in the ocean of cyclic existence, so is all mother sentient beings. So how you dare to leave all your mother sentient beings and get liberated? How come that you leave all your family members behind and you are having a nice time by the side of the sea beach? Seeing that may I be blessed to thoroughly train in the supreme mind of bodhicitta. You are already experts on bodhicitta, okay? Which takes the responsibility of liberating the sentient beings and helping them to achieve enlightenment. Okay, so cultivating that aspirational bodhicitta is very important. But unless you get habituated with the three kinds of ethical discipline, mere generation of the mind will not achieve enlightenment. That means you need to cultivate the bodhisattva vow. Having cultivated that aspirational bodhicitta, now you need to take the bodhisattva vow and then cultivate the engaging bodhicitta. You know that very well. Engaging bodhicitta, which means now you will engage. You will practice the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections, the 4 ways of collecting the disciples and so forth. Okay, unless you get habituated with the 3 kinds of ethical discipline. What are the 3 kinds of ethical discipline? Now I see how many intelligent people are here. I already explained this. 3 types of morality. First is restraining the negative deeds. Second, cultivating the positive. Third, wonderful, very intelligent people. Yeah, wonderful. This is it. Yeah. Unless you get habituated with the 3 kinds of ethical discipline, mere generation of the mind will not achieve enlightenment. Seeing that well, may I be blessed to rigorously make effort and train in the bodhisattva vows. Take the bodhisattva vow, saying that now I will engage, I will do the work, I will not only talk. So that is one topic, cultivation of bodhicitta. That is the most important topic of the third individual. Then similarly, may I be blessed to quickly cultivate in my mind stream the path which is harmonious combination of calm abiding and special insight, which is elimination of distracted towards wrong objects, and which is a proper investigation of the correct meaning. So next practice is out of the 6 perfections. When you practice the 3 kind of ethical discipline, you are basically practicing the first 5 perfections. First 4 perfections. Now here you talk about the next 2 perfections, which is concentration and wisdom. The path which is harmonious, combination of calm abiding, concentration, special insight, analytical meditation. So that basically you are talking about one-pointed meditation. Calm abiding means one-pointed meditation. Special insight means analytical meditation. This one-pointed meditation at that level is called calm abiding, because normally your mind is not calm. Your mind is not calm because your mind is invaded by countless host of thoughts, so much distraction. You can't concentrate on any one thing. There's so much pulling and pushing going on in your mind. So you calm, get rid of those distractions and abide on the chosen object. That is the meaning of calm abiding. Shamat, in Sanskrit we call it shamat. Then special insight means that this calm abiding is very, very good so that you don't get distracted towards wrong objects. But that's not enough. You need to also you need also develop that insight to see the details of that object. So there, you just can't concentrate. You should analyze and figure out, scrutinize, special insight. So the path which is harmonious combination of calm abiding and special insight, calm abiding means elimination of distraction towards wrong objects because you concentrate on one object. And special insight means that which is a proper investigation of correct meaning, investigation, analytical meditation. These are very important. Okay? Nine, after becoming a vessel through training in the shared path means, what are the shared paths? Shared path means the path that is common to both the sutric practice and also the tantric practice. Primarily, renunciation, bodhicitta, wisdom, understanding, emptiness, these are shared path. These are path which is necessary in cultivation of the path, of the sutra and also path of the tantra, that's shared path. So if you want to do any tantric practice, first you must have these common paths. Without that, you have no foundation to do any practice. For example, if you don't have this understanding of view of emptiness, there's no way you can visualize yourself as a deity. When during the initiation, when you ask to visualize yourself as a deity, there's no fun imagining that I am the black deity or the yellow deity or green deity. No, I'm not that person, I'm green deity. It doesn't make any sense. So when you generate yourself as a deity, the first thing you need to do is analyze yourself, see your reality, whether there's anything that is independent existence. And through this search, you find that there's no independent existence, and then you go into that state of emptiness, shunyata, where you don't have this appearance of this ordinariness. When this appearance of ordinariness is not there, then from that state of emptiness, you arise into that deity, which is pure and perfect. So without understanding of shunyata, you can't do any tantric practice. And of course, without bodhicitta, your practice will not lead to Buddhahood, enlightenment. So after becoming a vessel means a practitioner. Through training in the, if it is a proper vessel, you can put, many good food. So like that, when you become a fit disciple, by training in the shared paths, you should not be satisfied, but may I be blessed to easily enter Vajrayana, the supreme of all vehicles. Vajrayana basically means the Tantra, and the sublime path of the fortunate individuals. This is sublime path, but this is like rocket. Tantra is called quick path, it's like rocket. But if you put a innocent child on the driver's seat of the rocket, it will crash, right? So unless you have these preliminary practices, Tantra is not easy. Tantra is not suitable then, okay? At that time, may I be blessed to gain genuine conviction that the basis of accomplishment of the two kinds of attainments is purity of the pledges and vows, and to guard them at the cost of one's life. Right? At that time is when you enter into the tantric path, then may I be able to gain a genuine conviction that if you want to achieve any accomplishment of the two kinds of attainment. Two kinds of attainment means common attainment and uncommon attainment. Uncommon attainment means you will be able to, in Hindi we call it siddhi, if you want to, siddhi prapta karna, if you want to achieve some of this attainment. Common attainment means there are certain practices by which you can fly. There are certain practices by which you can make yourself invisible, things like that. Okay? And there are so many practices. So these are common common attainments. Uncommon attainment means the highest attainment when you become the Buddha. Okay? So the basis of accomplishment, whether you will achieve those two kinds of attainment is or not, is dependent upon how sincerely you observe the pledges and how sincerely you observe the vows. It is dependent upon the purity of the pledges and vows. So when you receive this tantric initiation, then after that they give you you have to make some pledges that I will not transcend it. There are some vows that I will not transgress it. So if you had observed those pledges and vows properly, then there is possibilities of achieving those attainments. So therefore, guard them at the cost of one's life. Okay? So now we are talking about Tantra. May I then be blessed to practice and make effort in accordance with the sublime teachers. Now here, when you enter into Tantric practice, then you need to really find an even more reliable teacher who is again well versed in the Tantric teachings, who can give Tantric initiations, things like that. And giving Tantric initiation is not easy. People ask me, can you Geshe give you Tantric initiation? I don't do any of these things because I neither have interest nor have capacity. Unfortunately, I have interest in Tantra, but not, giving the initiation empowerment. For people who do it properly, they also need to first to go long retreat, lot of practice. Okay. So, may I then be blessed to practice and make effort in accordance with the sublime teachers, not wavering from the supreme yoga of 4 sessions. 4 sessions means you can do the 4 sessions in a day, or you can do the 4 sessions, 2 in the day, 2 in the night. Normally we talk about 6 sessions also, that you should do all the time. Now sometimes people ask me why I have to do this 4 sessions, 6 sessions. People have asked these questions to me. So in the beginning I didn't have a proper answer. I was wondering, of course I can say, doing repeated practice is important, but apart from that I didn't have a very clear answer. So now when people ask me this question, then I tell them, I ask a question back by saying, how many times you eat? For your body you have to eat 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So similarly for the mind also you need to have all these sessions. 3 sessions, 4 sessions, It's not enough just give breakfast and no lunch, no dinner, right? Something like that. Having correctly understood the vital points of the 2 stages, this is primarily now we are talking not just Tantra in general, but we are talking primarily the highest Anuttara Yoga Tantra. The Tantra which has none above, the highest. So in that case, in that Tantric practice, there are 2 stages. What is known as the generation stage, and another is completion stage. Now generation stage means you do certain practices where you imagine, you generate and imagine that now for example when you are sleeping, you imagine you are dying. Right? When you wake up, imagine that you are born. So just as we are born and live and die, similarly you imagine that now you are becoming, you're obtaining the Dharmakaya, the enjoyment body, then the emanation body. So you mentally visualize the actualization of these 3 bodies of the Buddha with reference to your birth, death, and in between, right? So that's called generation stage. Now completion stage primarily means the basis of practice is already complete in your body. The basis of your practice, whether you think about the channel or thinking about the wind, they're already there. So in that sense, completion is already complete. Now you need to use this that is already there. That's called completion stage. Okay? So I don't know much and I can't explain much, and not needed right now. The essence of the Tantric discourses. In this way, may the spiritual teacher, now final, prayer. In this way, may the spiritual, and then of course, I didn't come across the need to receive tantric initiation. So when you enter into tantric practice, first you need to get tantric empowerment, tantric initiation. Okay. When you receive the tantric initiation, then you have these vows and pledges to observe. That is the process. Tantric initiation, empowerment. Because these tantric practice is said to be more secret practice. Not secret because there is something faulty and something that has to be hidden. Not in that sense. But it will not be very proper for you to practice unless you are guided by an experienced master. So therefore it is called secret. Now here two things. One, I remember very well when once we had this beautiful dialogue between the Jewish mystics and Tibetan Buddhism with His Holiness Dalai Lama many years back. And as a result, this book, Jews in the Lotus, that book was written. So I know the writer and all those things, they were there. So in the Jewish tradition also they have the secret, the tantric and the non-tantric kind of practice. And in the Jewish tradition also the tantric kind of thing, is that Kabbalah or what? Kabbalah, yeah, Kabbalah. So that has been kept so much that now they say there's hardly anybody who knows it. So therefore His Holiness at that time, I remember explaining very carefully that when we talk about Tantra as being secret, it really actually does not mean that you can't read it. Now if you don't read it, don't study it, then it will completely disappear. So now the secret primarily means the tantric practices that you are doing personally, don't make a show of it. I received this many tantric initiations. I've been doing this, observing these pledges and vows, whatever you are practicing. Don't show it off. Actually, it's not only tantric practice, but in Buddhism, actually, you're not supposed to, talk too much about your practices in general. For example, even if you're somebody who has clairvoyance, you're not supposed to share it. Even if you're somebody who has the capacity to fly, you're not supposed to fly, unless there is a very special purposes, because the Buddhist practice is for transforming negative emotions, not for display. You may be able to fly, but so what? You don't have to fly, you can fly in an aeroplane, right? These days. So this is nothing, this is nothing. We human beings are very fond of imitating animals, Somebody told me that the motorbike is a replica of ants, The ants, they are very similar, the big motorbikes, not the Hero Honda or things like that, but, like that. And then helicopter, there is a small, water dragon, yeah. Helicopter is said to be copied from there. Anyway, I don't know. There's a lot of similarities. So the point that I'm making is many things that we are unable to do, the animals are do. So what we are discovering and doing is really like imitation of animals, being able to fly, being able to go underwater, the animals have been doing, In the case of human being, if you're a great swimmer, best swimmer of the world, you get gold medal. But this gold medalist cannot compete the fish. The fish has always been swimming so beautifully, so nicely. They live there, nobody gives them gold medal. That's the only difference, And then sometimes I jokingly tell people, for example, this in the world of fashion, you do this so-called cat walking. Cat walking means walking like cat, right? I mean, crazy. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, I'm saying this. I'm not jealous, and also I'm not saying you can't do these things. So long as my take is, so long as you enjoy and it's not harming anybody, you have every right to do whatever you want. That's freedom, So I'm not totally against it. But what I'm saying is, by this kind of activities, this text we read, you should extract the essence of your human life. That means, what is really the core thing that makes a human being. How you can express this humanness that you cannot express just by cat walking or somersaulting or all this so-called daredevil sports that you do. Many people, even due to the lure of money, they even commit suicide. There are many people who commit suicide. Many of these Olympians, they look very highly trained, but many of them have so much stress. During the last, was it Olympic or what, that they did in Japan, So there were many who were highly stressed and depressed, you see. Yeah, so in this way, may the spiritual teachers who had shown the noble path and the spiritual friends who faithfully practice the path, may they live long. So that is your final prayer. I'm lucky that I met such a precious teaching. And there are so many precious teachers, there are so many precious friends. So you are all spiritual friends, Those of you who have gathered here, you are all spiritual friends. So we should really highly cherish and regard each other. And the spiritual friends who faithfully practice the path live long. And may we be blessed so that the hosts of external and internal interruptions quickly come to complete end. So sometimes you really want to do something practice, you're committed, you're dedicated, but sometimes you encounter unseen obstructions and hindrances, right? So how can you remove those obstructions and hindrances? One, whether you encounter any obstruction or hindrances, very much dependent upon your lifestyle, how you live. If you go in the wrong place, you'll get problem. You do the wrong thing, you'll get problem. So the obstructions and hindrances are not waiting there to obstruct you, right? You end up doing wrong things and then you encounter these obstructions. But there are other obstructions, interruptions, which you may have been doing your best, but still you encounter these problems. So in that case, you should, really cultivate bodhicitta. That's the best thing. Meditate on bodhicitta, shunyata, read Heart Sutra, especially the mantra, Tayatha Gati Gati Pargati Parasam Gati Bodhisoha, very short. And then similarly, there's a mantra of Tara, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha, like that. They are said to be very, very powerful, provided if you have the faith and understanding. Okay, if you don't have faith, you read this mantra as much as possible, there will be nothing. Right? Okay? So the prayer is also very important. Prayer means that you are wishing to do something. It shows your inclination, the direction. Buddhahood. From the tantric point of view, this is called Vajradhara. As is written down there, originally this text was translated by someone else and later on proofread and corrected by me on 10 June 2002 when His Holiness gave this teaching in a place called Tabu in Himachal, Spiti. He gave this teaching from 19 and 20 June 2002. I received this teaching on those dates, So to remember those teachings, I've number of translations like this where I, as much as possible, write down the occasion when I received the teaching, the days and months when I received the teaching. This is for rejoicing. May this benefit all, and may all obtain the wisdom eye. So, we are done. Done. If you have any final questions.
Okay, maybe now. Thank you, Geshe Lhakdor, for the wonderful teaching. So we've talked a lot about that you can't find happiness in sensual objects during the last days. And now, especially in this international group, there's a lot about this advice, oh, you should take this course in Tushita, or you have to go to take the November course in Kopan. So I was just wondering if you have some wisdom on kind of spiritual materialism.
Yeah, it is important to receive teaching, but don't just keep on, chasing teachers. Don't just keep on, attending all the courses. The most important thing is you need to do the homework. You need to practice after attending every teaching, practice as much as possible. Then through practice, if you encounter some problems, some questions, then maybe go to the other teacher or other session, If from your side there is no movement, no initiative, then your practice will end up as a feel-good practice. There will not much benefit, because you will more or less keep on hearing the same thing from all the teachers. If you're only, moving from one teacher to other teacher, from one session to other session, to just get a new word, new idea, new meaning, Many people, we are looking for information, right? That is not going to do much benefit. As I said earlier, or maybe not said, if you are thirsty, you need to drink water, but not the whole ocean. If you are thirsty, you need to drink water, but not necessarily the whole ocean. Whole ocean you can't drink. You can't read all the, even in the case of the Buddha's teaching, there are 108 huge volumes. If you go to my institute library, you can see that. Its translations are not there. Even if it is there, you may not be able to read that. And there is also no need to read all of them. I mean, if you can afford it, it's wonderful. But understand the essence. Understand the essence. Just like drink enough so that it will quench your thirst. Right? Otherwise, there is a story of one gentleman who was standing looking after the flock of sheep or goats, whatever, of a rich person. So every morning he would, send them, count them and send to the mountain for grass and things. And every evening he would make sure that they're all there safe and count again. So an outsider who saw this, and he said, not knowing who is the owner, he said, "You must be a very rich man. You have all this flock of sheep and goat which you count every morning and also count every evening. You must be a very rich man." He said, "I don't have a single sheep. I don't own a single sheep or single goat. All this belongs to my master." So our practice will become like that. If you just count things, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, we all know this. Then people must say, "Oh, you must be a very highly, learned practitioner." Then you say, "I have none. No compassion, no bodhicitta, nothing." Then it's like that person counting flock of sheep and not having even one sheep. Right? So therefore it is a little bit risky, especially in our case, who have been studying for a long, long time. You see, there is a saying which says, the leathers or skins which are tough can be tamed by using oil, by using butter. But that leather which has been in touch with the butter, for example, one which wraps the butter, has been touched with the butter for a long, long time, no amount of butter and oil can tan it. So similarly, those sinners, they can be transformed, changed by giving Dharma teaching. But those who are Dharma addict or Dharma proof, Dharma proof may be better, huh? Dharma proof means if you talk about them, oh, I know Bodhisattva, yeah, this is as I was doing, because I studied it. It's a wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, all those things. But then you yourself will kind of become immune to all these teachings. It will not benefit you. So while attending some of these teachings, of course, important, but I don't strongly recommend running after all the teachings and teachers. Am I right or wrong? I think so. Yeah. I was only waiting for support. Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, my question concerns faith that you just mentioned, faith, having faith.
Yes.
And for me, it's always a lot more easy to access it through intellect.
Yes.
And does the faith, for example, grow during that practice?
Yeah. Faith in Buddhism we talk about many types of faith. So faith should be like this, generally speaking. Genuine faith should be like this. There are three types of faith: clear faith, trusting faith, aspiring faith. Clear faith, the example of clear faith that is written in the text says, the clear faith is like a lustful person seeing a very beautiful woman. When a lustful person sees a very beautiful woman, his mind will be completely into that woman. So something like that. There should be clarity of the object of your practice. Then aspiring faith means a person who is thirsty and dying for water. So that kind of faith should be there. And scientifically now they say if you're really thirsty, if I put 2 glasses of water here on the table, one who is very thirsty, one who is not very thirsty, they may be sitting on the same distance, but the one who is very thirsty sees this water closer to him. You see? So because of this longing, aspiration, it becomes easier for you to actualize that object, get that object, if there is aspiration and longing. Then trusting faith. Trusting faith, example of trusting faith is like the small kids trusting their mother. Small kids, they think my mother can do everything. Your mother can't do everything, but because there's so much trust in between, so much love in between, the mother more or less solves all the child's problem, you see. So that kind of trust must be there. This is so in general explanation of that. Now, another major division of faith is faith of the people who are not so intelligent and faith of the people who are intelligent. Faith of people who are not intelligent is not reliable because it will most of the time it will become a blind faith. Because you are not intelligent, you never question, So if your object of faith turns out to be good, then you are lucky. If your object of faith turns out to be wrong, you are unlucky, you go in the wrong way. Because you are not questioning, you are simply following, right? So therefore, in Buddhism, especially in the Mahayana practice, it is important to cultivate the faith of the intelligent person. Intelligent person means before he trusts or develops their faith, he will caution. How this teaching seems, sounds useful or beneficial, or true based on your own personal experience, based on how much you can analyze and think, you caution. And it's only after cautioning when you see the truthfulness of their teaching, then you trust. That is very, very important, cautioning. So therefore we always say, be skeptical in the beginning. Be skeptical, ask question. And that's what Buddha himself said. this famous phrase, O bhikshus and wise, O scholars, just as the goldsmith judges the gold by cutting, rubbing, and putting under the fire, similarly judge my word, my teaching, and follow, not because you have faith. You see, when you judge the gold, you cut it, you rub it, see the powder, how pure it is, cut it and see inside whether it's solid gold or not, and put it under the fire. So similarly, when you examine things, there are three levels on which you examine. One is what we call as the obvious phenomena. Obvious phenomena, things that you see, things that you can hear. So here you should not ask other people too much. You should yourself hear. If it is a news which you yourself heard, then you can talk about it. The problem is most of us don't, listen to things properly and then follow the rumor. Oh, this has been done, that has been done, that has happened, this has happened, So we become a rumor monger, which creates a lot of disturbances in the society. So those obvious things which you can see, which you can, hear, you should yourself try to see the truth. Aankhon dekha hal bolte hain Hindi mein. Right? Do that. Don't just listen to other people. So in this context, there is this famous kind of event happened with even Aristotle. Aristotle is supposed to be one of the greatest philosophers. Even he made those mistakes without asking other people, without using his own judgment and common sense. And it is said that he made a comment by saying that women have less teeth than men. Is this true? Women have less teeth than men. Because he must have heard this from other people, so he kept on saying women have, less teeth than men. But the mistake that he made is he married 2 times. He could have asked his wives to open the mouth and counted it, So without doing that, he said he heard somebody, So there are many mistakes even Aristotle made, So similarly, we should analyze and judge things by ourselves, especially on this level where you can use your senses and find out. Okay? Then there is a second level of phenomena which is called slightly hidden phenomena, which you can't see directly. So there you should use reasoning, inferential cognition. Reason out, right? Then there is a third level which you can't see directly, you can't reason out. Then you have to trust somebody. And that somebody should also be worthy of trust because of many other reasons. For example, if your mother says you are born on 15 August 1956, right? Your mother told you, your father told you, right? So now you think this is right, we are all writing. So how do you know you are born on that date? Have you seen it? Did you use reason and figure that out? No, your parents told you. How can you rely upon your parents? Because they love me. Because there's no reason that my parents tell lie about my birth date. So indirectly you use reason, but you have to rely upon somebody. So there are many teachings which we cannot, immediately understand with our senses. We cannot reason it out. But we have to rely on the quotations and citations of the Buddha. And we can simply rely on it because he's compassionate. And all those teachings, all those levels of teachings which we can question, we can ask, it turned out to be correct. So in this area also, he should be correct. Something like this. Okay? Yeah.
Well, yesterday you said get good in get good in one thing first. So practice first emptiness, and then you do bodhicitta or the compassion, the path about compassion. But then it would mean not to mix the analytic meditations. Did I understand that correctly? No. Okay.
No, it doesn't mean you don't do anything else. It really means your main focus should be one thing. It is not saying when you are meditating on emptiness, don't go to bathroom, don't sleep. No, like that. There are things you need to do, but you are specializing. So your main focus should be on that one thing. Then you will be able to know in and out of the reality of that thing. You'll really get the real knowledge and education if you sometimes, in my case, sometimes even one word, this word is not so clear to me. And then I consult dictionary, still it is not so clear to me. It happens like this. Then you have to make effort just on that word, Consult all the dictionaries, all the commentaries. Oh, this is it in this context. Now you are an expert. That matter is settled. So something like that. Make sure that you are knowing what you are talking about. Right? Okay?
Geshe, over here. I have a two-part question. In my practice...
Let me say something before you ask the question,
Yeah.
During many conferences and other talks, we tell people, each of you, please ask one question. Then they say, yeah, I have one question, but it's two-pronged question. So I'm joking. Your question reminded me that two-part question, okay.
So in my practice, I often struggle with motivation before I practice, and also struggle with the heart-based practices, and I feel like they're connected in some way. It feels like my practice is very selfish in some way. I do it to, I wouldn't say relax, but to be able to move a little bit more easily through the day. I'm wondering, I say the words, may I be a benefit to other sentient beings, but they're just words in my mind, but I actually don't feel them in my heart. So I'm wondering, how can I better connect the motivation and also the practice at my heart, more so than in my mind?
Yeah. This is a very good question. So here, as we already actually studied, here you need to have an in-depth understanding of suffering of other people and how they are connected to you. Like, for example, you have more kind of feeling of care and concern and wish to do for your near and dear ones, your family members, right? Because you know that they are very connected to you, they have been kind to you, they are my son or my children, my wife, you are making this connection. Now, whereas with the other people, you may not be making this connection. You may think, oh, these are other sentient beings. Okay, they are other sentient beings, that's it. So you need to, as you rightly mentioned, you need to make this connection. Connection is already there, you need to recognize it. The connection is, you are one of this group of people, one of the member of the 8 billion people. And you are very, whether you acknowledge it or not, you are very, very closely connected to all of them. Right? And then also, as we discussed earlier, even in terms of your spiritual upliftment, spiritual progress, you can't make that progress if you don't have love and compassion to these people, to these individuals. So your very flourishing development is very much dependent upon how much attention you pay to other people, right? So it's important to see this very subtle connection, right? And then, as I said, there is no one quick solution. You see everything from a larger perspective. What is my connection with the rest of sentient beings? Why should I take the responsibility? Think about these things, right? Then gradually, it really makes huge difference. It's familiarity and so many things. For example, we all have this experience. Sometimes if you are like, for the first time meeting somebody, that somebody on the first day looks very arrogant. And you thought, oh, this is a very arrogant person. And you make this judgment because of his external look. But then gradually, when you spend more time together, then you find this person is not at all arrogant. It is his nature, to present in that way, but basically a very good person. So it's really knowing the situation of other people. Some people looks arrogant, not arrogant. Some people look very happy, but not happy, So for example, people say never make judgment. The reason you should not make judgment, I once read a very interesting statement there by saying you should never make judgment because you have no idea how much struggle this lady has made to just come out of her bed and join the rest of the flock. Meaning that she may be overwhelmed by suffering problems. And it's almost like, almost impossible for her to get up, wash her face and look nice and go to the crowd because she's so much overwhelmed by suffering. So somehow she gets up, wears nice looking clothes and makes the society. You don't know, this person looks okay, but she's not okay. He's really struggling. So we have no idea. That's what I tell, I very often give talks to to Tibetan schools. So in the Tibetan schools, they like many other schools in ancient times, a lot of beating before. Now, of course, much has changed, but still there are people who ask the question, why can't we beat children? Some of these children are so naughty, they never listen. So unless you beat, they never listen. So this is all based on lack of understanding. So instead of beating, you should at least take time to talk to this person before beating this child. What is his or her family background? How this child become naughty or having no discipline? Not because he or she likes it, but because he and she must have brought up in an atmosphere, in a family which really experience a lot of difficulties and problems. So these people don't need beating. They need care, they need love. Instead of intimidating, take them to a small tea stall and give them some tea, some foods to eat, make good friends. Then they get hope. And also beating, sometimes by beating, if you hurt somebody, it's actually against human right also. It's human right violation. So all this is dependent upon how much knowledge you have, you see. Right? Okay.
I can see.
You mentioned the lion yesterday and killing other animals, and that's not being good action. So my question is, how can animals practice good dharma if they have no consciousness? And therefore, if they cannot practice good dharma, how can they subsequently be reincarnated into a higher life?
Yeah, as I said, it's obvious that you can't go, collect, group of lions and give a dharma teaching. You can't do that. So it's impossible. But then the comforting thing, the good news is in Buddhism we say everybody has a Buddha nature. And also with the change of life, things change. So if in this life you are a lion, not necessarily next life also you are a lion. Next life you may be a human being. Because in many of these past lives, you have committed so many different types of karmas. One karma responsible for projecting you into a human life, another projecting you into life of lion, like that. So as and when you finish up one thing, then the next karma gives its fruit and born as a human being, things like that, right? So, but very difficult once you are born as an animal, very difficult. Therefore, make sure you are not born as an animal. That's what we are talking. That's what we are talking. But in Tibetan tradition, sometimes you have very interesting practices. For example, sometimes we do believe that if you have this, sheep and a goat and other animals that there, sometimes they round up all these animals and they recite some mantras near their ear, Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme. Then they blow it on their body. So there is a story of one pigeon who always comes somewhere, near the place where the master was always reciting certain, philosophical text. So that pigeon used to hear that all the time, every morning. And he said next time he was born as a great teacher. Because you get habituated to many things. If you're in an environment, everybody is taking care of dogs, and the dogs also become tamed and very nice, And recently there was a photo, I don't know how it happened, when His Holiness Dalai Lama was visiting Bodh Gaya. Have you seen that photo of the dog? The police brought one dog, and when this dog was in front of His Holiness, he just knelt down, and then His Holiness did like this. The dog was also... It's interesting, the relationship, Anyway, yeah. Something like that, yeah.
In verse 10,
Yeah.
in verse 10, how do you gain conviction? Do you just gain it because you're told that this is how, that it's important to keep your pledges and vows? Or are there reasons that you can use to gain conviction?
Well, gain conviction through study.
No, I mean, how do you gain conviction that keeping the pledges and the vows will bring powerful
No, I think you should not read it like that. Read it like this. At that time, may I be blessed to gain conviction. Okay, gain conviction that the basis of accomplishment of the two kinds of attainment is spirit of the pledges and vows. So there you need to know what are the benefits of observing the pledges and vows. You may not be able to know that quickly, For example, this is like signing a contract, If you make a promise and break it, ordinarily speaking also, if you make a promise and break it, then nobody will trust you. Right? So similarly here also, if you make pledges and take vows and don't observe it, then as a natural consequence, you will not be able to achieve the higher things. For example, it's like saying this. If you use the word pledge and vow, it becomes a little bit more complicated. Then let us think it in this way. For example, if you say, I will cultivate bodhicitta, and if you don't cultivate it, don't practice it, then how are you going to get bodhicitta? How are you going to develop bodhicitta? It's exactly like that. Okay? Yeah. Huh? You want to open a meat industry? What did you say? No. I'm joking.
How do we wrap our heads around the meat industry, because how they are treated and it's only increasing?
Yeah, best is education. How, because you can't just say this is bad because the Buddha's teaching says this, you can't do that. So therefore the best way you do this is the damage that is done on the environment. How this is not good for your health. How much the animals also suffer. So you need to constantly bombard with education. Yeah. All right, thank you. We are done. Enjoy your day, enjoy your month, enjoy your year, and whatever you are doing, be happy, enjoy, stay healthy, happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Geshe-la. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Offering a small material offering. Nothing at all. It's everything you offered us.
Oh,
Good night. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Swiss dog food brought by my mom.
Acha, your mom. Acha. Wonderful.
So please accept
Thank you.
this and accept
Thank you.
our
Thank you.
heartfelt gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
so much, Geshe-la.
So much.
So much. Please return very quickly to Tushita.
Yeah, I'll come provided if you give me good lunch, good dinner. The reason I'm coming back again and again is they give very good lunch. Very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. No need. Stay. If you want, you can come, but no need. You're coming from where? Kazakhstan. Oh, wonderful. Buddhism flourished in Kazakh before. You know some of the stories. Yes. I read some articles. You are from Raipur. Raipur is in Madhya Pradesh, right? Chhattisgarh, yes. Chhattisgarh, yes. You are from Switzerland.
Is the chocolate?
Chocolate land.
Is the chocolate?
I went there many times. You are from? Huh? Ireland.
Yeah, Irish.
Oh, Irish, yes. Thank you. You are from where? Mumbai Kar. Thank you. Don't kneel down, huh? Just don't kneel down. Thank you. Dhanyavad. How can I say? Delicious. I should get up, no? You are from? Czech Republic. Beautiful Republic. I went there 2 times. Israel. Israel, I went maybe 3 times. Finland. Very beautiful country. Very beautiful country. No, I've never met her. California is very big. Yeah. Oh, US. Another beautiful country. But of chocolates and cows. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Iran also used to a lot of Buddhist practices in the past. Oh.
Thank you so much again, Geshe La. And I also wanted to thank Manuela and Leo, especially Manuela did most of the part. Also the tech team. Thank you, the online people. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, dear students, and thank you so much for doing your karma yoga job so amazingly. Especially Gong Ringer, dishwasher, everybody. more. Yeah, because it becomes like monsoon out there. The fog is moving in. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
And